Introduction. Why nobody cares. Let's just get this out of the way. No one cares. Not about your excuses. Not about your backstory. Not about why you couldn't do it. Not about how tired you are. And that's not cruel. It's life. It's reality. And once you accept that, you take your power back. See, the moment you stop looking for sympathy, the moment you stop needing someone to save you, encourage you, or understand your pain, you become dangerous. You stop waiting for motivation, and you start moving. You stop needing permission, and you start building. You stop complaining, and you start dominating. This audiobook isn't here to comfort you. It's here to wake you up. Because let's be real, you already know what to do. You've heard the quotes, read the books, saved the motivational videos. But if knowing was enough, you'd already be where you want to be. The truth is, you don't need more inspiration. You need pressure. You need truth. You need someone to say what no one else will. You're not stuck, you're just soft. And soft doesn't survive out here. Not in the gym. Not in business. Not in life. You want results? You want respect? You want to feel proud of yourself? Good. Then stop crying, stop stalling, stop blaming, and get to work. Because the grind doesn't care about your feelings. The gym doesn't care about your bad day. Discipline doesn't care if you're tired. And success cares about one thing only: who stayed consistent. This audiobook is your wake-up call. It's not about hacks, shortcuts, or feel-good strategies. It's about owning your life, owning your choices, owning your results. You'll learn how to kill excuses, how to crush overthinking, how to act when you feel like quitting, and how to develop the mental toughness to show up every single day without needing a pat on the back. Because that's what it takes. That's what this world respects. So if you're tired of being average, tired of quitting and starting over, tired of being overlooked, underestimated, and soft, then good. Use it. Use the pain. Use the frustration. Use the anger. Then get up, lock in, and work harder. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Stop waiting for permission. Look around. Most people are just waiting. Waiting for the perfect time. Waiting for someone to believe in them. Waiting to be ready. They tell themselves they'll start next week. They'll try when life slows down. They'll go for it when things feel right. That moment doesn't exist. Nobody's coming to push you. No one's handing you a green light. The door isn't going to magically open for you. You kick it open. You have to give yourself permission to go, to act, to mess up, to move forward before you feel qualified. You know what kills more potential than failure? Waiting. Waiting until it's perfect. Waiting until you feel confident. Waiting until someone tells you it's your turn. The harsh truth? No one cares about your potential, only your results. You think someone's going to see how hard you're trying? No, they only see what you finished, what you built, what you became. So if you're sitting around thinking, am I ready? Do I deserve this? What if I fail? You're asking the wrong questions. Here's the better one. What if I never try? What if you keep waiting for someone to validate your worth, and the opportunity passes? What if the version of you that could have been relentless, respected, and fulfilled never shows up because you stayed in the waiting room? You don't need a sign. You need to move. Every person who ever did something great wasn't ready when they started. They made mistakes. They felt insecure. They got rejected. And they kept going. They acted before they felt like it. And eventually, they became unstoppable. So what are you waiting for? Approval? Forget it. Perfect timing doesn't exist. Confidence comes after action, never before. You move first, then belief follows. This is your permission slip, right here, to show up early, to take up space, to work harder than anyone expects you to stop explaining yourself and start proving it. Because here's the thing. Nobody's going to choose you. You have to choose yourself. Every damn day. Choose the grind. Choose the standard. Choose to move while everyone else waits. That's how you win. That's how you separate. That's how you rise. No more permission. No more hesitation. Just action. Let's get to work. Chapter 2. Motivation is a lie. Let's get brutally honest. Motivation is not what you need. Not today. Not tomorrow. Not ever again. Because motivation is a liar. It tells you that you need to feel ready before you move. That you should wait until you're inspired. That you have to be in the right mood, the right mindset, the right moment. It sounds nice, but it's just procrastination in disguise. Here's the truth most people don't want to hear. The people who win, they don't rely on motivation. They rely on systems. They rely on habits. They rely on standards, not emotions. You've felt it before. That surge, That fire. That this is it moment. You watch a motivational video, hear a powerful quote, or scroll past a clip of someone grinding hard in the gym, and suddenly you're fired up. You swear this is the day it all changes. But 2 days later, that fire is gone. You're tired. You're distracted. You tell yourself you'll start again next week. That's what motivation does. It starts loud and dies quietly. It's like building your house on sand. Looks solid until pressure hits. And the moment life gets real, motivation bails on you. Now compare that to someone who's disciplined. They wake up at 5 a.m. not because they're inspired, but because it's who they are. They train when they're exhausted. They work on their craft when no one's watching. They don't need to want to do it. They've just made it non-negotiable. And that's the difference. Motivation is a wave. Discipline is the surfboard. If you only ride the wave, you crash the second it disappears. But if you build the board, the mindset, the routine, the mental toughness, you stay standing long after the wave is gone. Look at the highest performers in any field. Athletes, creators, entrepreneurs, soldiers. You think they feel inspired every day? You think they're operating off of good vibes and caffeine? No, they've trained themselves to show up regardless of mood. Because they understand something most people never learn. You don't rise to the level of your motivation. You fall to the level of your habits. If your habits suck, you will crumble every time life gets inconvenient. So what do you do instead? You build discipline like it's your job. Because it is. Your job is to show up. Your job is to execute. Your job is to get it done, especially when you don't feel like it. Start by removing feelings from the equation. Stop asking, do I feel like working out? Am I in the mood to be productive? Should I wait until I'm more focused? That mindset is why people stay average. Start asking, what would the disciplined version of me do right now? Then do that. Period. Your emotions don't get to decide who you become. Your actions do. Let me say that again. Your emotions don't decide your future. Your actions do. Discipline is built one small decision at a time. Waking up with purpose, even when you're tired. Starting the task, even when you're overwhelmed. Keeping your word, even when no one is watching. Every time you override that lazy voice in your head, every time you act without hype or fanfare, you're building something permanent. Because when you move without motivation, you're creating identity. And that identity is stronger than any burst of inspiration ever could be. Motivation is a spark. Discipline is the engine. Which one are you relying on? Because sparks fade. Engines run. Here's the ultimate test. If you had to show up for 90 days straight, no compliments, no attention, no motivación en videos, just the raw work, would you still do it? That's what separates the driven from the drifting, the consistent from the casual, the warriors from the wishers. You want motivation? Earn it through motion. The more you move, the more momentum you create. And guess what? Momentum creates energy. Energy creates clarity. And clarity kills excuses. So stop chasing motivation. It's not coming. It's not your solution. It's not your friend. The grind doesn't care if you're hyped. The world doesn't care if you're inspired. Results don't show up because you watched a motivational reel. They show up when you do. So show up tired. Show up unmotivated. Show up when it sucks. And you'll become the kind of person who doesn't need motivation ever again. You'll become unstoppable. Chapter 3. Choose discipline over emotion. Let's be real. You're never going to feel like it. Not consistently. Not every day. Not when it actually matters. That's the truth most people never want to face. You're not going to feel motivated to train after a long day. You're not going to feel focused when your brain is fried. You're not going to feel confident when you're stepping into something new. But the mistake we all make, and society makes worse, is acting like feelings are the green light for action. We treat our emotions like they're leaders when really they're followers. They follow motion. They follow decision. They follow what you do, not the other way around. So let me put this as directly as I can. If your actions are based on how you feel, you'll always fall short. You'll be driven by your mood, your energy, your comfort. You'll be up one day, down the next. Sharp one week, sloppy the next. You'll be inconsistent. And inconsistency is the death of progress. The fix? Discipline. Not the sexy kind. Not the loud kind. Not the kind you post about online. I'm talking about the discipline that exists when no one sees it. The kind that tells your body to move even when your mind is screaming no. The kind that says, I don't care if you're tired. This is what we do. Discipline isn't about becoming emotionless. You're a human being. You're going to feel things. You're going to wake up foggy, frustrated, anxious, unmotivated, distracted. That's normal. But what separates the strong from the average is that the strong don't listen to those feelings when it's time to act. They feel them. Then they move anyway. See, discipline is doing what needs to be done whether you feel like it or not, and doing it with the same standard every single time. Not because you're trying to impress anyone, but because your commitment isn't negotiable. You want to know what weakens most people? It's not the big things. It's the little emotional negotiations. The "I'll do it later." The "just 5 more minutes." The "I deserve a break today." Each of those decisions seems small, but every time you obey that emotion, that urge for comfort, you're casting a vote for the identity of someone who can't be trusted. And it doesn't take long before you don't even believe yourself anymore. That's how it starts. You stop believing your own goals. You stop trusting your own words. You stop showing up for yourself because deep down, you know you won't follow through. But discipline restores that trust. It tells your brain, when we say we're going to do something, we do it. And with every follow-through, even when it's small, your identity shifts. You stop seeing yourself as someone who tries. You start seeing yourself as someone who executes. Now, let's talk about how to build it. You don't build discipline by overhauling your whole life in a day. You build it by making one uncomfortable decision at a time and sticking to it. You build it by saying no to what you want now, so you can get what you want most. You build it by removing emotion from the driver's seat and replacing it with standards. Here's the move. Stop asking yourself how you feel about a task. Start asking yourself who you want to become. That's the shift. From "how do I feel right now?" to "what would the disciplined version of me do in this moment?" The answer is usually clear. You just have to do it before the emotional negotiation begins. Because the longer you think about it, the longer you hesitate, the more your brain will try to talk you out of it. It's not sabotage. It's survival. Your brain wants to conserve energy. It wants safety, comfort, routine. It doesn't care about growth. That's your job. So every time you feel that emotional resistance, remind yourself, this is the moment discipline is built. Right here, right now. Now when I feel good. But when I don't. Now, let's go even deeper. Discipline isn't just a tool. It's a form of self-respect. You follow through not because you feel like it, but because your word means something. Because your standards matter more than your temporary feelings. Because you've decided that how you show up isn't up for debate. And the result of that? You become dangerous. Because now, you're not controlled by mood. You're not waiting for a good day. You make the day good by how you move through it. You become the person who does what needs to be done. You become someone your future self can depend on. And more than anything, you become someone you can respect. So if you've been letting your emotions run your schedule, if you've been waiting to feel like it, if you've been giving yourself just enough space to break your own promises, stop. Draw the line today. Say it out loud if you have to. I don't obey emotion. I follow standards. I don't chase motivation. I lead with discipline. I don't need to feel good to do good. Because this world is full of people who are talented, gifted, and intelligent. But they can't win because they've never learned how to show up when it's inconvenient. They only operate at 100% when the stars are aligned. You want to be different? Then stop waiting for perfect conditions. Start acting like your future depends on what you do right now. Because it does. From this day forward, remind yourself daily, my emotions are allowed to exist, but they're not allowed to control me. My discipline will lead. My feelings will follow. That's the real key. That's the path to consistency, confidence, and real transformation. Discipline over emotion. Every time. Chapter 4. Show up when no one's watching. Let's talk about something that separates real discipline from surface-level effort. Something that divides the committed from the casual. Something that nobody posts about and nobody claps for. Showing up when no one's watching. We live in a world that's obsessed with performance. Everything is a highlight reel. The best lifts, the best shots, the perfect lighting, the inspirational quote at just the right time. But what really builds you isn't what happens in front of the camera. It's what you do when there's no audience, no attention, no applause. That's where the real growth happens. It's easy to be consistent when people are cheering you on. It's easy to show up when others are watching, validating, admiring your grind. But the truth is, that's not consistency. That's performance. That's ego. True consistency is built in silence, in solitude, in those early mornings, late nights and quiet hours where no one's checking in, no one's noticing, and no one's going to tell you good job if you follow through. And you show up anyway. That's what makes someone unstoppable. Because when you train yourself to move without needing external fuel, you stop being controlled by approval. You stop being driven by attention. You stop needing someone to clap for you just to stay focused. You become internally powered. And when you operate from internal power, you're a different animal. Think about this. Who are you when no one is watching? Who are you when there's no social media, no likes, no followers, no accountability partner texting you, let's get it? Who are you when it's just you and the work? Because that's the version of you that determines whether you rise or stay average. Not the version that shows up when it's convenient or visible, but the one that shows up when it's boring, when it's quiet, when no one cares. That's why most people don't win long term. Because they train for attention, not for identity. They chase the dopamine of public validation, but never build the discipline for private victories. And here's the truth no one likes to hear. What you do in silence will echo louder than anything you ever post. Every rep, every step, every choice you make when no one's watching. That's what builds the real you. That's what builds integrity. And integrity is the difference between someone who talks about discipline and someone who lives it. Let's go deeper. When you train yourself to move in silence, to grind when it's just you versus you, you create a level of self-respect that can't be faked. You stop seeking validation because you know you're doing what needs to be done. And that self-respect, it becomes the foundation of everything else. Because the man or woman who can show up without applause, who can follow through without recognition, who can keep promises to themselves when nobody's watching, that person becomes unstoppable when they are under pressure. When the lights do come on, when the moment does matter. They don't have to fake it. They've been living it the whole time. You want confidence? Don't go look for it in books, videos, or affirmations. Earn it in silence. Earn it through private reps. Earn it by becoming someone you can count on, whether the world sees you or not. Let me paint a picture. Imagine two athletes. One only trains hard when their coach is watching. They go all out in practice because they want praise. They hit the gym when someone holds them accountable. The other? They train with the same fire, even when no one is in the room. They don't skip reps. They don't cheat sets. They don't slack when no one's looking. Now tell me, who do you think will last longer? Who will deliver under pressure? Who will dominate when the spotlight hits? Exactly. The same rule applies to your life. Whether it's your health, your business, your habits, or your goals. If you only show up when people are watching, you're building on quicksand. But if you learn to show up in silence, to fall in love with the grind when it's just you, your standard, and the work in front of you, you build on bedrock. And here's something most people never realize. Silence is where the breakthroughs happen. Because when it's quiet, when it's uncomfortable, when it's hard, that's when all the noise gets stripped away. There are no opinions, no eyes, no distractions, just you and truth. And the truth is, most people run from that. They can't handle silence because silence exposes whether or not they're really committed. But the ones who embrace it, the ones who lean into the quiet, into the dark, into the lonely grind, those are the ones who rise when it matters. So if you want to become different, if you want to build something unshakable, if you want to earn real, permanent confidence, start showing up when no one's watching. Do the workout when no one's going to post it. Write the page when no one's waiting on it. Keep the promise when no one will ever know if you broke it. Because that's where champions are built. That's where discipline becomes identity. That's where self-respect takes root and never lets go. It's easy to move when everyone's watching. It's rare to move when no one is. So be rare. Be relentless. Be the one who shows up every time, with or without an audience. Because when it's just you and the work, that's when it really counts. Chapter 5. How to become mentally unbreakable. Everyone talks about strength. They want to be strong. They want to be disciplined. They want to be focused, unshaken, and unstoppable. But the truth is, very few people are willing to do what it takes to become mentally unbreakable. Because this isn't something you're born with. It's not a personality trait. It's not about talent or IQ or where you started. Mental toughness is built, forged through pressure, through pain, through repetition, through resistance. You don't get mentally strong by reading about it. You get mentally strong by going through it and refusing to fold. So let's define it. Mental toughness is your ability to keep moving forward, regardless of how hard it gets, how long it takes, or how alone you feel. It's the mindset that says, no matter what happens, I don't quit. It's not the absence of emotion, stress, or struggle. It's the refusal to let any of those things stop you. The world doesn't reward the person who feels the best. It rewards the person who keeps going when everything in them says stop. You don't need a perfect plan. You need the kind of mind that refuses to be broken by pain, by failure, by slow progress, by doubt, or by the opinions of others. Let me be clear, life is going to test you. It's going to knock you down. It's going to throw setbacks, frustration, and unexpected chaos into your path. And in those moments, your mental toughness will either keep you moving or will expose your weakness. So the question is, how do you become unbreakable? You train for it. Just like your body, your mind needs reps. You don't get stronger by avoiding discomfort. You get stronger by facing it. You build mental toughness by embracing situations that are hard and doing them anyway. You build it by being consistent when no one sees it. You build it by keeping your promises, especially when it's inconvenient. You build it by sitting with failure, owning it, and coming back stronger. Let's get one thing straight. You're not soft because you feel doubt. You're not weak because you feel tired. You're not broken because you've failed before. You become weak the moment you let those things decide your actions. You want to harden your mind? Start by doing the things you keep avoiding. Get up earlier. Push harder. Stop quitting at 40%. Put yourself in controlled adversity and use it like a gym for your brain. Choose the hard thing on purpose. Choose to suffer now so you can thrive later. Most people try to coast through life. They avoid pain. They want everything easy. But ease is the enemy of strength. You don't grow by being comfortable. You grow by being challenged. And the strongest minds, the ones that don't break, they aren't built in perfect conditions. They're built in moments of failure, fatigue, and friction. They're built when it's cold, when it's lonely, when it's hard. They're built when a voice in your head says, give up, and you answer back, not today. Mental toughness is about choosing the response that future you will respect. It's about showing up on the days that suck the most because those are the reps that separate you from the rest. Let me give you an example. There are elite soldiers, athletes, and operators who train to function under insane levels of stress. Not because they enjoy the pain, but because they understand something simple. If you can think clearly and act effectively when everything's going wrong, then nothing can stop you. That's the standard. So how do you apply that? You don't need a battlefield. You don't need a coach yelling in your face. You just need to make hard things normal. Wake up when your body says no. Train when your mind says rest. Finish the task when your emotions say we've done enough. Say, I'll do it anyway, when your excuses try to win. And here's something powerful. Start speaking to yourself like someone who's unstoppable. Most people lose the battle before it even starts because the voice in their head is soft, negative, apologetic. You got to rewrite the internal script. Tell yourself things that sharpen your edge, not dull it. Say, I don't break. I don't negotiate. I don't skip. I don't quit. I don't care how I feel. I show up. That's how you win a mental game. Not by eliminating struggle, but by dominating it with how you respond. You want to be unbreakable? Then stop breaking promises to yourself. Discipline yourself to follow through no matter the weather, no matter the energy, no matter the odds. Even if you're tired, even if you're behind, even if you're alone, especially when you're alone. That's when you're training your mind to rise above emotions, excuses, and setbacks. Because here's the reality. You're not going to be the most talented. You're not going to have the best genetics. You're not going to have perfect conditions. But if you could be the one who never quits, who never bends, never breaks, never loses focus, you'll outlast them all. Mental toughness isn't about being special. It's about being consistent through chaos. It's about being calm under pressure. It's about being focused when everyone else folds. You want that edge? Then earn it. Repetition, pressure, purpose, again and again and again, until unbreakable isn't something you hope for. It's something you are. Chapter 6. Kill the excuses, all of them. Here's the truth nobody likes to admit. You already know what to do. You know you should wake up earlier. You know you should be more consistent. You know you should stop scrolling, stop stalling, stop drifting. You know, but you're not doing it. And the reason isn't knowledge. It's not skill. It's not potential. It's the same thing that stops millions of people from ever becoming who they were capable of being. Excuses. Excuses are silent killers. They don't shout. They whisper. They don't demand. They persuade. They speak just soft enough to sound reasonable, just smart enough to feel safe. But they're the enemy. And if you don't learn how to spot them, dismantle them, and silence them on command, you'll live your whole life in second place to your own potential. Let's break this down. The anatomy of an excuse. Excuses are always built on three things: a tiny truth, a distortion of that truth, and a permission slip to do less. Here's how it works. You're tired. That's the truth. But then the distortion comes in. Since I'm tired, I probably won't do well anyway. Then the permission. So it's fine if I skip today. And just like that, the excuse wins. You stay the same. You get softer. And the discipline you were trying to build just lost another round. You don't beat excuses with motivation. You beat them by telling yourself the truth, the whole truth, and acting in spite of it. Let's destroy the most common ones. And if any of these sound like something you've told yourself recently, even better. That means we're exactly where we need to be. Excuse number 1, I don't have time. The king of excuses. Let's be honest, it's not about time. It's about importance. You make time for what matters. Period. Scroll your screen time. Check your Netflix history. Audit your week. You'll see where your time is going. And if the things that actually build you mentally, physically, financially are missing, that's not a time problem. That's a priority problem. Time doesn't find you. You make it. Excuse number 2, I'm too tired. Everyone is tired. You think the people at the top of their game are just walking around with unlimited energy? No, they've just trained themselves to act without permission from their feelings. Tired is real, but tired is not final. You don't need full energy to execute. You just need to start, because once you start, your energy shifts. Your body wakes up, your mind snaps in, and you build the identity of someone who shows up anyway. Excuse number 3, I'm not ready. No one is. That's why they're not winning. The people who wait to feel ready, they wait their whole lives. You don't get ready and then go. You go, and then you become ready through the reps, through the pressure, through the pain. Confidence is earned. You want to feel ready? Then earn it by doing the thing unready again and again, until you evolve into the person who owns it. Excuse number 4, I don't know where to start. This one's clever. It sounds humble. But really, it's just fear in disguise. Because you don't need to know everything. You just need to start with what's in front of you. Even if it's the wrong place, movement gives you data. Clarity is a byproduct of momentum. Take a small step, then the next, then the next. And soon enough, you'll realize you never needed a perfect plan. You just needed the guts to begin. Excuse number 5, what if I fail? You will. That's not a threat. It's a guarantee. You'll mess up. You'll fall short. You'll miss days. You'll doubt yourself. You'll start something and realize it didn't go the way you wanted. That's called growth. Failure isn't the opposite of success. It's part of the process. But failure doesn't kill progress. Quitting does. Fear of failure is just fear of trying. And you don't rise by avoiding fear. You rise by walking through it again and again until it loses its power. Now here's the truth behind all excuses, the part that hurts but frees you if you let it. Every excuse is a defense of the old you, the one that didn't follow through, the one that settled, the one that let feelings win, the one that wanted comfort more than results. And if you keep making excuses for that version of you, you'll keep living like that version of you. If you want to evolve, you have to kill the script. You have to confront the lazy thoughts. You have to stop arguing for your limitations and start fighting for your new identity. And that's a war you fight daily. Excuses don't die once. They come back. Every morning, every workout, every time you feel pressure, fear, or fatigue. That's why your awareness has to be ruthless. You don't kinda call out your excuses. You drag them into the light and burn them in the fire of truth. Say it out loud if you have to. I have time. I can start small. I don't need to feel ready. Tired doesn't control me. I fail forward. No more excuses. And then, you act. That's the part most people never do. They know the excuses. They even admit them. But they keep living under them because action feels too uncomfortable. You have to move before the excuse finishes its sentence. The longer it speaks, the more persuasive it becomes. Interrupt it with action. Interrupt it with motion. Interrupt it with identity. That's not me anymore. That's the old version talking. We don't negotiate with comfort. From here on out, let that be your standard. If it sounds like an excuse, it gets cut at the root. No matter how logical, how subtle, how familiar, you kill it immediately. Because every time you do, you're stepping closer to the version of yourself that doesn't just dream about change. He builds it. He shows up. He works harder. And he never lets an excuse lead his life again. Chapter 7, Move. Don't think. You know what kills more dreams than failure ever could? Hesitation. That split second when your brain says, wait, what if it's not the right time? Maybe I should plan this out more. I'll start after I clean the house, check my messages, fix my schedule. And just like that, the window closes. You didn't fail. You didn't lose. You didn't even try. You just paused, and the pause became a habit. And before you knew it, hours passed, then days, then weeks, and you're still talking about starting soon. Let's get one thing straight. Thinking is not the same as moving. Thinking is not progress. Thinking is not transformation. Thinking, when it isn't backed by action, becomes a trap. You sit there obsessing over the perfect workout plan, the ideal time to launch, the perfect gear, the optimal conditions. Meanwhile, someone else, with less knowledge, less clarity, and more doubt, is out there executing. And guess what? They're winning. Not because they're better, but because they moved. And that's the shift. Stop overanalyzing. Start acting. Move. Don't think. This doesn't mean be reckless. This doesn't mean forget strategy. It means quit using thinking as a substitute for doing. Because the more you hesitate, the more your brain fills the space with fear. Your brain is wired for survival, not success. When you pause, it starts scanning for threats. Not real ones, just what-if scenarios. What if I fail? What if they laugh? What if I mess it up? And just like that, you're frozen by a future that hasn't even happened. That's why high performers, the people who seem to always be doing something, have learned to act before the hesitation window takes over. There's a real term for this. It's called the hesitation gap, the moment between idea and action. The longer it stays open, the more resistance floods in. Mel Robbins called it the 5-second rule, not the one about dropping food. Her version says this: if you don't move on an instinct within 5 seconds, your brain will kill it. So here's the rule. Don't wait for certainty. Don't wait for confidence. Don't wait for a better time. Move first, then adjust. Most people think they need clarity before they act. But it's the opposite. Clarity comes from action. Momentum creates focus. Motion generates confidence. Want to feel confident? Move before you're ready. Show yourself that you don't need to feel perfect to make progress. Let me give you a real example. Let's say you're trying to build a morning routine. The alarm goes off. Your mind is foggy. Immediately, the excuses start whispering. Let's just rest a little longer. We'll start tomorrow. It's not that serious. If you sit in that moment for more than 5 seconds, you're done. The negotiation begins. Comfort wins, and your brain chalks up another quiet victory for hesitation. But if you act, even if it's just sitting up and putting your feet on the floor, you've already broken the pattern. You didn't let the emotion win. You moved, and movement is where identity gets shaped. That tiny act of motion becomes proof that you're not soft, that you don't wait for the mood to be perfect, that you're a person who acts in spite of emotion. And the more you do it, the faster your brain adapts. Suddenly, hesitation has less power. The voice that says, let's delay, gets quieter. The identity of, I'm someone who acts, gets louder. But here's the part most people ignore. The longer you delay action, the heavier it gets. That workout you didn't feel like doing? It's 10 times harder after 30 minutes of debating. That email you were afraid to send? It feels impossible after days of delay. That conversation you've been avoiding? It turns into an invisible weight you carry every day, all because you didn't act when it was small. Tiny hesitation creates massive pressure, and the only way to kill that pressure is to act. Immediately, aggressively, decisively. Not because you know what will happen, but because you're no longer willing to let delay run your life. You got to train your reflex to be action, not thought. The old version of you thinks, should I? What if? Let me think about it. The new version? They move. They say, let's go. We'll figure it out. I'll course correct later. Because action builds clarity. Action builds courage. Action builds momentum. And momentum is the most underrated power in personal growth. With momentum, even average plans succeed. Without it, even the best ideas rot. This is the mindset that separates winners from talkers. Winners don't wait. They don't hesitate. They don't need to feel ready. They decide. They move. They adjust. So how do you apply this daily? Set micro triggers. Alarm goes off. Stand up immediately. Timer hits 0. Start the task without delay. Get an idea? Take one small action right now to build momentum. Every time you move without overthinking, you're training your brain to trust action over anxiety. You're building a version of yourself who gets results, not by thinking longer, but by acting faster. And here's the thing. The more you move, the more you believe in yourself. Because confidence doesn't come from preparation alone. Confidence comes from evidence. And every time you override hesitation with motion, you're giving yourself the ultimate proof. I'm not someone who waits. I'm someone who works. I don't stall. I strike. I don't wait for permission. I create momentum. So the next time you feel yourself slipping into overthinking, say this to yourself. Don't think. Just move. Then move fast. Move loud. Move forward, even if it's messy. Because motion beats perfection. And hesitation, it ends here. Chapter 8. Build a standard, not a goal. Everyone has goals. I want to lose weight. I want to make more money. I want to be more disciplined. I want to level up. That's great. But here's the truth. Goals are weak without standards. Goals are what you want. Standards are what you tolerate. And your life doesn't rise to your goals. It settles to your lowest standard. Let that sink in. You can have the biggest dreams in the world. But if you don't raise your daily standard, you'll never touch them. Because goals live in the future. But standards live in your actions right now. You don't get fit because you set a goal to go to the gym. You get fit because you raise your standard to, I don't miss workouts. Period. You don't build a business because you said you want to. You build it because your standard became, I put in focused, non-negotiable hours every day. No excuses. That's the difference. Goals give you direction. Standards determine your pace. Standards are what you do when nobody's watching, when motivation is gone, and when the outcome still feels far away. And here's what most people get wrong. They chase the feeling of having a goal instead of building the identity that can carry it. They hype themselves up with vision boards and slogans, but they never hardwire the standards required to make it real. So what happens? They start strong. They post about it. They get excited for a week or two, but then they miss one day, then two. Life happens. Motivation dips. And because their standard was never locked in, the whole thing falls apart. Sound familiar? That's because we've been taught to glorify setting goals. But nobody teaches us how to set standards. So let me break it down. A goal says, I want to read 20 books this year. A standard says, I read 10 pages every day, no matter what. A goal says, I want to lose 20 pounds. A standard says, I train 5 times a week and eat with intention. A goal says, I want to wake up earlier. A standard says, my alarm is non-negotiable. I don't snooze. I rise. You feel that shift? Standards anchor your behavior to identity, not emotion. They create consistency because they're not up for debate. They are your minimum, not your maximum. And that's how real momentum begins. You don't need new goals. You need higher minimums. Think about a professional athlete. They don't work out when they feel like it. They don't hope to practice most days. They have a standard, a system, a baseline they never dip below. That's what makes them consistent. That's what makes them elite. And you can build the same structure. You don't need a stadium. You don't need millions of followers. You just need the discipline to hold yourself to a higher bar, especially when no one else will. Now here's where it gets real. Your standards aren't just rules. They're a reflection of what you believe you deserve. If your standard is low, it's because part of you believes, this is all I'm capable of. This is all I can handle. This is all I deserve. And the only way to break that cycle is to prove yourself wrong through repeated action. You raise your standard by doing more than you feel like doing. You reinforce it by refusing to tolerate the old version of you. You solidify it by keeping promises, especially the ones no one else sees. So how do you build better standards? Here's the blueprint. 1. Pick one area to upgrade. Start with one category: fitness, discipline, focus, sleep, work ethic, you name it. Ask yourself, what's the minimum I'm willing to accept from myself in this area, no matter what? 2. Set a clear binary rule. Not vague, not emotional. Clear. White heavy check mark, I don't snooze my alarm. White heavy check mark. I train at 6 p.m. every weekday. White heavy check mark. I write 1 page per day. White heavy check mark. I don't skip 2 days in a row. Ever. If it's not clear, it can't be consistent. 3. Track it relentlessly. If you don't measure it, you'll drift. Track it every day. Write it down. Cross it off. Keep score. Not to be perfect, but to be aware. 4. Defend it like a contract. This is where most people fold. They set the standard, but they make exceptions. They compromise when they're tired, busy, emotional. And every time they do, the standard weakens. You have to defend your new standard like it's law. Because the more seriously you take it, the more seriously your identity adapts to match it. Now, let's be clear. This isn't about being perfect. You're going to miss. You're going to fall off. You're going to have days where everything pushes against you. But here's the key. You don't let it lower the standard. You get back up. You recommit. You reinforce it harder the next day. Because once your standard is set, you stop needing motivation. You stop asking, should I? You already know, this is what I do. That's how you build unshakable consistency. That's how you build self-respect. And that's how you start winning, even on the days that feel like losses. So let me ask you this. What's your current standard? Not what you say, what your behavior proves. What are you tolerating from yourself that doesn't align with who you want to become? And more importantly, what are you willing to demand from yourself starting today? You don't need another goal. You need a standard that won't bend when life gets heavy. Because when goals fail, when plans change, when moods shift, your standard is what keeps you grounded. So raise it, reinforce it, and never lower it again. Chapter 9. Win the day, every day. Here's the truth. You don't need to figure out the next year. You don't even need to figure out the next month. You just need to win today, and then do it again tomorrow, and again, and again. That's how consistency is built. That's how confidence is forged. That's how you stop starting over and start stacking real momentum. We overcomplicate progress. We think we need massive shifts, giant wins, major breakthroughs. But in reality, the people who build legendary discipline, they're just winning today and refusing to break the chain. You want to change your life? Stop chasing the perfect life. Start mastering the next 24 hours. The problem with someday, thinking most people live in the illusion of someday. Someday I'll get in shape. Someday I'll stop procrastinating. Someday I'll be more consistent. But here's the thing. Someday isn't on the calendar. There is no later. There's only now. The only day that ever mattered is today. And the way you treat it says everything about how serious you are. If you keep treating today like it's disposable, you'll keep throwing away your future in small, silent pieces. So here's the mindset shift. Treat today like it's your shot. Because it is. You don't need a perfect day, just a productive one. Winning the day doesn't mean every second is optimized. It doesn't mean your routine is flawless or your energy is perfect. Winning the day means you kept your word. You stuck to the standard. You did what needed to be done, especially when it wasn't easy. The goal isn't perfection. It's consistency. It's progress. It's stacking so many small wins that failure has nowhere left to live. Because discipline isn't built in 30-day challenges. It's built in daily decisions. Quiet ones, boring ones, relentless ones. The power of micro wins. Want to know how to build unstoppable momentum? Start focusing on micro wins. Not the big goals, not the dramatic results, but the small, controllable victories you can claim every day. Did you show up? Did you train, even when you didn't want to? Did you stick to your routine? Did you make progress, even just 1%? That's the scoreboard that matters. Because stacking micro wins creates identity. It tells your brain, this is who I am. I don't miss. I don't skip. I don't fold. And that identity, it becomes a weapon. It becomes your new normal. It becomes your shield when motivation dies and pressure hits. Build a daily system that you defend. Stop leaving your success up to chance. Design a daily system that builds the version of you want to become. And then treat that system like law. That means wake-up time equals locked. You don't snooze. You rise. Non-negotiable blocks equals scheduled. You move with purpose. Focused work equals protected. You don't let distractions steal your momentum. End-of-day review equals consistent. You reflect, reset, and reload. It doesn't need to be complicated. It just needs to be clear. Because clarity kills hesitation, and discipline thrives on structure. And once that system is in place, you don't wait for inspiration. You execute the plan. You punch the clock with purpose. Stop counting days. Start owning them. Most people live like they've got unlimited time. They wait. They scroll. They float. You want to build something great? Start treating every day like a brick. One day equals one brick. You're either stacking it or skipping it. You're either building the house or tearing it down. Every skipped task, every ignored habit, every time you say, I'll do it tomorrow, you're leaving holes in your foundation. But every time you win the day, even if it's messy, even if it's small, you're reinforcing the wall. You're laying a brick. You're building the future. Evening self-check. Did you win today? Here's the most important question you can ask every night. Did I win today? Not, did I crush it? Not, was I perfect? Just, did I win? Did you show up? Did you follow through? Did you fight the old you and make this version stronger? If the answer is yes, even just barely, then you're winning. And if the answer is no, you don't spiral. You don't beat yourself up. You reset. You reload. You come back stronger tomorrow. Because winning the day isn't about flawless performance. It's about relentless repetition. You're always training something every day, whether you realize it or not. You're training something. You're either training discipline or you're training delay. You're either getting better at showing up or you're getting better at making excuses. You're either becoming the kind of person who follows through or the kind that talks about it and never moves. There is no neutral. You're always becoming something. And the way to take control is simple. Win the day. Not with hype, not with perfection, but with execution. One meal, one workout, one decision, one action, one rep of being the version of you that refuses to fold. Lock in the identity. Here's the ultimate goal. You want to build the kind of life where winning the day isn't an event. It's just who you are. It's not a challenge. It's not a hashtag. It's your standard. And when you live like that, you don't burn out. You don't fall off. You don't have to restart every Monday. You just show up, day after day, win after win, until it becomes automatic. So here's the call to action. Put the future down. Put the past down. Stop chasing tomorrow and start dominating today. Because this 24 hours, right now, is all you have. And if you can win this one, you can win the next, and the next. And before long, the life you've been chasing, you're already living it. One day at a time. One decision at a time. One win at a time. Let's get it. Chapter 10. Prove yourself right. This is it. The final chapter. The closing message. And I'm not here to give you a motivational send-off. I'm here to give you one last reminder. Something that cuts deeper than all the hype, all the talk, all the goals. Prove yourself, right? Not to them. Not to your doubters. Not to the ones who said you wouldn't make it. Not to the ones who laughed when you started. Not even to the people who walked away when you were down. They don't matter. This final chapter isn't about revenge. It's not about clapping back. It's about building something so real, so powerful, that you no longer need validation from anyone. Because the truth is, the most important promise you'll ever keep is the one you made to yourself. The real battle was always internal all this time. The workouts, the early mornings, the cold showers, the journaling, the skip parties, the reps, the lonely nights grinding while the world was sleeping. You thought you were chasing discipline, habits, results. But what you were really chasing was trust. Self-trust. You wanted to be able to look yourself in the mirror and say, I don't break. I keep my word. I finish what I start. When I say I'm going to change, I change. Because that feeling, that quiet pride, is stronger than any compliment, applause, or online praise. That's the kind of power nobody can give you. And nobody can take it away. Forget proving them wrong. We've all had moments where we used doubt as fuel. We wanted to prove the haters wrong. Prove our family wrong. Prove our ex wrong. Prove society wrong. And sure, that can get you moving. That can light the fire. But that fire burns out. Because living despite people keeps you chained to their opinion. The real power, the real transformation, comes when you no longer care about being seen as successful. You care about being someone you respect. You don't need a scoreboard. You don't need to show off. You just need to look yourself in the eye and know, I kept the promise. I did the work. I stayed the course. That's what this entire journey has been about. The version you were meant to become at the beginning. Maybe you doubted this version of you was even real. Maybe you thought discipline was something other people had. Maybe you thought it would take years. But here you are different, sharper, more focused, more dangerous. Not because you found a shortcut, but because you did the work no one sees. You faced your excuses. You broke your old patterns. You stopped waiting for the right mood. You raised your standard. And you finally made you your priority. You stopped quitting when it got hard. You stopped seeking approval. You stopped asking permission. You just showed up again and again and again until the new you wasn't new anymore. It was normal. You're not chasing potential now. You're embodying it. Your word, your work, your proof. This chapter is about ownership. It's about reclaiming your identity. Because for years, maybe you told yourself, I'll start tomorrow. I can't be consistent. I'm not like those people. You broke promises to yourself quietly, hoping no one would notice. But deep down you knew. And that guilt, that shame, that heaviness, that didn't come from failing others. It came from betraying yourself. So this is where it ends. Not with a slogan, not with a motivational speech, but with a standard. No more broken promises. From now on, your word is law. Your actions follow your intentions. And your results follow your actions. You want to feel proud? Then keep showing up. Keep executing when it's boring. Keep moving when it's quiet. Keep working like it's already yours, because it is. You're not proving anything to the world. You're proving one thing to one person. That when you say, I got this, you mean it. Be your own proof. Let them doubt. Let them scroll. Let them quit. That's not your lane anymore. You don't chase motivation. You create momentum. You don't compete with people. You compete with your own limits. And every single time you do the work, you're leaving evidence. Evidence that you're not soft. Evidence that you're not average. Evidence that you're the kind of person who finishes. So here's the final command. Be undeniable. Not in words. Not in quotes. In action. Be the person who doesn't need to talk about discipline, because your results say it all. Be the one who others look at and say, they don't fold. Ever. Be the one who made a decision and never back down. You want to win? Then prove yourself right. Every day, every rep, every moment. Because when you look back on your life, you won't care about the views, the likes, or the applause. You'll care about this. Did I become the version of me I said I would? If the answer is yes, then you didn't just win. You proved it. Closing outro. You made it to the end. But don't get it twisted. This isn't the end of anything. This is the beginning. The beginning of your real standard. The beginning of showing up with zero excuses. The beginning of finally trusting yourself again because you earned it. From here on out, there's no turning back. You don't need more information. You don't need another motivational video. You don't need another course, book, or hack. You need action. Relentless, daily, disciplined action. You've heard the truth now. And once you've heard it, you can't unhear it. No more someday. No more waiting. No more wishful thinking. It's time to build. It's time to grind. It's time to work. When life pushes you, you don't flinch. You push back. When the world doubts you, you don't explain. You execute. When your emotions scream, quit, you whisper back, not today. You have everything you need, not because it's easy, but because you're willing to do what most people won't. You're done being average. You're done being soft. You're done letting old patterns win. From this day forward, you don't chase motivation. You create it. You don't wait for permission. You move. You don't hope for change. You become it. So close this audiobook and open up a new level of yourself. And when it gets hard, because it will come back to this one phrase, say it out loud. No one cares, so I'll work harder. Now go prove it.